Hey everyone, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love After Lockup, Season 7, Episode 9. I will not be doing a full episode recap. There are plenty of other content creators who do a great job covering the show. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe can be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. So I'm going to start with Justine and Michael. At this point, Justine has told Michael that she's pregnant with their first child, which is her fourth child and his fifth child. And that totals 8 children between them. In the previous episode, Justine quit her job as soon as she found out she was pregnant, which I thought was extremely irresponsible, reckless, and short-sighted. And this is why Michael's mother told her a few weeks ago that she does not or did not want Justine raising her grandchildren with Michael the way that she raises her daughters. And it seems like Justine has a hands-off, laissez-faire approach to raising kids, which is one of the reasons why Michael wants her to quit her job, because he does not want to babysit her unruly children while she's at work, okay? And it seems like Justine is the type of person that tries to microwave herself a family by having babies by every man she's with. There is no reason why she and Michael couldn't have waited to get pregnant, if at all. They already have 7 children between them. And then we find out later on in the episode that Justine's mother has been helping her financially because the fathers of these kids are not there for them financially, emotionally, or physically. So Michael tells Justine to hold off on telling her mother about the new baby because it looks bad, right? It looks bad for her to get pregnant by a convicted felon with no job within 30 days of his release. And to make matters worse, Michael's on probation for 20 years. So his options for financial provision and getting a job are limited, okay, especially for 8 children. So Michael, Justine, and her mother are supposed to be moving together, or not moving together, having dinner together, hanging out, I guess. And at the very least, Michael wants to break the news of the new pregnancy to her mother together as a team. But Justine at some point figures out that she's already pregnant, and she's rightfully disgusted and angry with Justine for doing this. Justine has the audacity to tell her mother that she's grown, knowing damn well that she's been leaning on her mother, who's 55 years old, for financial support because of her reckless, selfish, and irresponsible actions. And everybody makes mistakes, and I honestly think that Justine is doing this to punish her mother for not being there for her as a kid. I don't know what happened to her as a child, but Justine's indignant, disrespectful, and entitled attitude feels like she's used to pulling stunts like this because her mother has guilt about the way she was raised. Like, Justine's mother is 55, which means that she's only 20 years older than her daughter. I don't think that a 20-year-old woman would have their life together to the point where, you know, she didn't have to make so many sacrifices for her daughter to provide for her. So I wouldn't be surprised if Justine at some point experienced emotional or physical neglect. And as the saying goes, if you don't raise your children, you'll have to raise your grandchildren. I'm not saying it's Justine's mother's fault that her daughter is so irresponsible at the age of 35 with 3 other children that she has to take care of, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a deeper backstory between her and her mother as to why her mother feels compelled to rush and support her grandchildren or take care of her grandchildren, other than the fact that there may be some guilt there about the way that Justine was raised. So after dinner, Michael tries to console Justine's mother and reassure her that he's sticking around and he has a plan for them. So I kept noticing the food stuck in his teeth and his yellow teeth, and I'm like, no, this is so weird. But anyway, Justine's mother says that she's been helping Justine financially, which means that Justine quitting her job while pregnant with 3 other children is a huge slap in the face. And what makes matters worse is the fact that Justine has a smirk on her face, and then she gets defensive and disrespectful when people call her out on her poor decision making. Michael confronts Justine in a car about telling her mother before he arrived because he kind of walked into a negative situation and, you know, it looked bad, and he wanted to be able to like break the news to her mother as a team, because he would have been able to massage it a little bit and make it not sound as bad as it actually is, or stupid as it actually is. Justine gets defensive again and acts as if it's Michael's fault that she's pregnant. She has this passive-aggressive attitude about her that tells me she's crying out for help in some way. It seems like she's not in control of her life, like she's going through the motions of flying by the seat of her pants. There's a sense of disconnect here. It's like she listened to Michael when he said he wanted to have a baby, right out of prison. She listened to him then, got pregnant really fast. She listened to him when he asked her to quit her job, but then she couldn't listen to him when he asked her to wait to tell her mother. Justine, in my opinion, she quit her job because she wanted to, because she's used to her mother taking over her responsibilities for her. And I'm not a therapist or psychologist or anything, but Justine acts like somebody who's experienced a lot of trauma, abuse, or neglect as a child. And she seems disassociated or disconnected from her life. There's like disorganization, scattered brain thinking. She gets defensive really easily. She doesn't take accountability for her actions. She doesn't think ahead. It's a lot of fly-by-night, reckless behavior, just like Gabby and Chris. I wonder if they have similar issues. All right, on to Ashley and Travis. Ashley clearly has a substance abuse problem. Her emotional reactions are extreme, hysterical. She's always crying or drinking, or crying and drinking, and then blaming Travis for her financial issues that she created. I think Ashley is emotionally unstable, not because of her financial situation. I think her emotional instability is the cause of her financial instability. She seems to have these mood swings that cause her to spend a lot of money, drink too much, eat too much. There's something wrong with her psychologically and emotionally. She seems to be delusional and broken as a person. So last episode, we found out that Ashley is in a lot of debt, and she lost her apartment because she was several months behind in rent while she was splurging on Travis in prison and promising him a job at her failing business. At some point, she tells Travis that she's been pampering him for years and he needs to get them out of this situation that she created. I feel like she bought Travis's love just like Monique did to Derek, and so now Travis feels indebted to her. But to be honest, it seems like her life was a wreck before he met her, which is why she was looking for love in prison in the first place. The same thing with Monique and all these other women. I always ask the question, who's being exploited? The person in the jail or the person on the other side who's free? So Travis and Ashley, they leave her home in Florida to go live with his mother in Virginia. And Ashley has a problem with that because she does not want to be micromanaged or supervised, which is what a lot of addicts are concerned about. A lot of addicts have a hard time being in environments where they have to follow the rules. And that's one of the reasons why the homeless population in LA is so rampant, because a lot of homeless people with drug problems, they'd rather be on the streets doing their drugs instead of being clean and sober inside of a shelter that prohibits drug use. So Travis seemed overwhelmed because he's kind of become her caretaker and emotional support penis. So whenever Ashley crashes and burns, he has to make sure she doesn't do something rash and impulsive to hurt herself. At some point, Ashley gets drunk off of free drinks or cheap drinks, and then she kicks off her mules that she's wearing, and she wobbles barefoot through a dirty parking lot in the middle of the night. So as a native New Yorker, I'd rather cut off my feet than walk barefoot on dirty concrete. New York concrete, to be exact. And the fact that Ashley is walking around barefoot means to me that she's very drunk. And again, Travis doesn't seem to know what to do. I'm sure he's getting turned off because she's needy, clingy, irresponsible, overly emotional, codependent, and an addict or a lush, okay? This relationship is doomed. It's not going to last because of Ashley, not because of Travis, in my opinion. I think Travis feels like he got bamboozled a little bit because he was expecting to come out of jail with a job and living in a nice house with a pool, with whatever, and everything is a mess. She's a complete and total mess, okay? Now on to Eris and Cameron. So last episode, Cameron's sisters threw a welcome to the family party for Cameron and his new wife, Eris. But not only did Eris fail to attend without notice, she caught an attitude with one of Cameron's sisters. And, they were calling in to check on her to see what was going on. Why didn't she show up? So Cameron's family is very close-knit and extroverted, and Eris seems like a private, introverted person. She said she was sick, but I still think she should have showed up for a few minutes out of respect for the family and then dipped out and said, you know what, I'm not feeling good, I got a headache, COVID's going around, I don't want to get anybody sick, let me be out. So Cameron attended the family function by himself, and I think he was resentful of that, and then he gets drunk like a skunk. It's a miracle he got back to the hotel with Eris safely. Eris is still sick in bed at this point, and she wants to know if Cameron bought her medicine. And Cameron's like, no, which I think is extremely selfish and, inconsiderate. But I think that Cameron was kind of getting her back for not showing up at the party, which is probably why he didn't defend her to his family, because he took a lot of flack for that. And she didn't even bother to show up. But, yeah. Anyway, so I'd be very irritated if my husband knew I was sick like a dog and he didn't think of me enough to get me some medication. Right? Because Eris asked him to pick her up something from the store so that she can feel better. It's, you feel helpless and you want someone to help you when you're sick. That's the point of having a spouse. But Cameron was so self-centered, in my opinion, and so caught up in his own feelings and his own whatever he was going through, that he didn't even bother to think about her, while he was with his family. He seems to be somebody who is very self-centered and like short-sighted and selfish, in my opinion. So I wonder if he's an Aries, because he looks like an Aries. And that could account for like the selfishness to an extent. Eris and Cameron then get into a little fight about him being drunk. And then Eris says that that's one of the reasons why she didn't want to go with him to the party. So why would she marry a weird looking, emotionally unstable man who's clearly an alcoholic if she already has a young, impressionable, vulnerable daughter at home? So you knew he was going to get drunk at this party. Why didn't you go with him to control his behavior a little bit, or to help him to like calm down or stop when he was going too far? Why didn't you do that? These women get so damn dumb over a man that they'll ignore glaring red flags and put their children in danger just to have a walking dildo in their bed. Eris is just as foolish and irresponsible as Justine and Ashley, and hopefully Cameron is a good guy, because Eris seems to be the type to overlook certain things just to maintain the relationship. So if Cameron is an asshole and a jerk and not a good father figure, role model for her daughter, Eris seems to be the type to overlook that because she thinks he's so cool and they're soulmates and whatever. I hope Cameron, for her daughter's sake, is a good guy, because he seems like a whole lot to handle. And I don't think Eris can handle him at this point. Now on to Skyler and Nathan. Skyler and Nathan need to break up. Skyler cares too little, and Nathan cares too much. I would also appreciate if Nathan stopped using hood slang when talking to his middle-class, drug addict white girlfriend. Nathan called Skyler a chicken head a couple episodes, and then he said he wanted her to have his baby kids. And I was like, when did chicken head and baby kids get gentrified? Like, Nathan sounds so ridiculous, looking like a redneck lumberjack, but talking like he's an extra in a Vanilla Ice music video. He sounds so cringy and weird and try hard, like he's trying to be cool and swagged out and hood and whatever. No. Skyler's mother is very worried about her relapsing, so she takes her to a cemetery and tells her she doesn't want her to visit her there. I honestly think that Skyler's already relapsed and using drugs again, and so is Nathan. They have a toxic codependency thing going, and neither of them want to submit to the other. Skyler is naturally a rebellious daredevil, which Nathan obviously likes about her, because when she leaves, he chases her, and then when he leaves, he circles the block to get her. So Skyler needs to get with a white, middle-class, safe white man and wave, her magic wand of pretty white privilege over this chapter of her life and close the door on it, because Nathan, even though he loves her, he represents struggle and insecurity. And she's going to keep gaslighting him and testing him because she knows she has him wrapped around her finger. Nathan is Skyler's version of the black guy that a lot of white girls sleep with and date before they marry their middle-of-the-road, boring, safe, white, successful, middle-class man after they spent years in college and after college running the streets, exercising their freedom and their feminism. So Nathan is like the dangerous black guy version of a white guy. I don't see her settling down with him like that. I see her getting tired of the life that she's living, or she's going to crash and burn. One or the other. Okay. On to Monique and Derek. So Monique and Derek visit his great-grandmother's house. And to be honest, she looks amazing for 95 years old. A few episodes ago, they made it seem like she was on her last leg in her deathbed. But to be honest, she looks stronger and healthier than her grandchild, who's Derek's father. So seeing Big Mama was bittersweet for me because it's a painful reminder of how hard and how low the Black community has fallen. Traditionally, Big Mama was always the nucleus of the family because men usually die earlier than women. And Big Mama would sacrifice her personal happiness and independence to ensure that her posterity could always come home to a safe, clean environment. But all of that changed with the baby boomer generation who prioritized drugs, partying, city life, and chasing pleasure over their family. And the generations afterwards deteriorated from that point. We go from boomers to Generation Jones, to Gen X, to millennials, to Gen Z. We can see the turning point where the culture kind of shifted from having family values to prioritizing individual pleasures and success. And the men started doing this before the women, and now the women are following suit. Derek's family, right, his brothers, his sisters, and his mom who's passed away, it seems like they're a hot mess, partially because the father wasn't really stable, and his mom seems to be somebody who was in the streets, especially if she told him to sell drugs. She wasn't going to be like Big Mama, his great-grandmother, because, you know, starting from Generation X or the boomers, Mama gotta have a life too. To hell with being the backbone of the family, right? To hell with taking care of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. In Love and Marriage DC, we learned that Ashley's mother abandoned her when she was 16 to chase after penis too. And this is very typical of that generation. The last of the Big Mamas were born during the Pluto and Cancer generation, which ended around 1933. And to be honest, if we're going to survive as a community, we need to bring the Big Mama culture back. Women should not be competing to be as ratchet, irresponsible, and dysfunctional and selfish as these ancient men. We have to hold the line for our children and grandchildren like Big Mama has for her family. Okay, she's 95 years old and looks more put together than her grandson and even her son, even her great-grandchildren. It's insane. So anyway, Derek's great-grandmother greets Monique warmly and shows empathy for her because of her weight and her image, as she says. And that was probably her nice way of saying that Monique is not that attractive. So I also have empathy for Monique as well, which is why I said she needs to lose weight, because men like Derek will use her weight and her insecurity against her to justify mistreating and exploiting her. Yes, Monique is using Derek also. She is. She's using him to boost her self-esteem enough to find a way to love herself again, and then maybe she'll leave him after that. But when a woman is insecure, self-destructive, needy, clingy, and codependent, it means that she doesn't love herself. And men like Derek take advantage of women like that, which is why, again, I'm so hard on her about her weight, because that's one of the reasons why he's doing it. So Monique receives harsh criticism on social media, not out of hate, but concern, because most women like myself don't want to see another woman get taken advantage of for something that she has control over. And we know that Monique is not Derek's type. She's not even her own type. Derek said that he's used to dating dimes, and now he wants to try something different. I mean, damn. How many ways can you tell somebody you're not attracted to them in that way? So while at Big Mama's house, Monique snoops around and plants cameras in Derek's bedroom, which is very, very disrespectful to Big Mama's house. But this is what happens when you're insecure and you know you're playing yourself. You have no regard for boundaries, and you'll do whatever you can to cling on to fleeting happiness, which is what Derek represents. So Derek walks in and confronts her calmly about rummaging through his stuff. And Derek seems to be patient with Monique like a child, because I honestly believe he has a plan to leave her after he gets himself together. He's just biding his time, playing the long game. So after they leave Big Mama's house, Monique cooks a fish dinner with minimal seasoning and iceberg lettuce on the side. As big as Monique is, she obviously doesn't cook for herself, which is why she's that big in the first place. Fast food and frozen foods comprise the majority of her diet, which again is why she's morbidly obese. It's hard to get morbidly obese to that extent eating your own food, home cooked food. right? This is bonbons, this is frozen dinners, this is Jimmy Dean sandwiches, this is Popeye's chicken, Chinese food. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Monique doesn't know how to cook as big as she is, which is insane to me. So Derek says that he wants her to cook every day, which again is his soft and gentle way of telling her he wants her to lose weight. To be honest, Monique should have been trying to lose weight since Derek was in prison. But again, she's not self-motivated. And her spirit seems to be broken by trauma, insecurity, grief, and like overall depression. She seems very depressed and lost. So production decides to show Derek climbing onto Monique like a mountain and falling off because she's so big and he's so little. The imagery was ridiculous and cringy, and I will say that Derek is a hell of an actor, okay? He is definitely playing the long game. He's going to give her whatever he needs to give her to sell her the dream that he's actually invested in her, period. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it there. Look forward to reading your feedback. If you want to order a personal astrology or tarot reading, you can go to our website and then submit payment via CashApp or Stripe. Once again, look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.